Hey everyone, welcome back to the meters. Today I'm going to be showing you how I make bone marrow butter. So it's probably the easiest recipe that you have ever made. You're going to need bone marrow. So I got my bone marrow from Wild Meadows Farm, which used to be Green Pastures Farm. Today I'm going to be using 5 bone marrows, but this is going to actually yield a lot and I'm going to have leftovers. If you're just looking to make some butter just for like that one meal that you're going to have today, you could probably just use about 2 bone marrows. I'm going to make a little bit more and store in a little jar that I have. And what else you're going to need is salt. So I'm using Redmond salt, which is the best salt on earth. If you haven't tried it, I said it again, I'll say it over and over, you have to try it. And they don't sponsor me, but they should, because I talk about the salt all the time. And the final tool, which is, I got this today, so I'm pretty excited. I've never used it, so we'll see how it goes, but it's a hand blender, but you could use any kind of blender that you have will suffice. And that's about it. If you do well with seasonings or other types of spices that you'd like to add to your butter, you could, feel free to use that. I'm just good to go with some salt. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna transfer my bone marrow into this little pan, and I have preheated my oven already to 400 degrees, and we're gonna bake these guys for 15 to 20 minutes. You want them to be soft on the inside. You want to be able to poke a little knife or a toothpick inside with no difficulty, but don't worry if they don't come out 100% cooked. It's okay if they're a little bit pink. And today I'm gonna have these with a little those little egg yolk muffins that I make, and some bacon or pork belly. I haven't decided yet. So pop these bad boys in the oven, and I'll see you in about 15 to 20 minutes with the next step. Alright, so I've got my bone marrow ready to go. I'm gonna scoop it out and transfer it to a bowl, and I'm gonna let it kind of cool off for a little bit. You don't want it to completely solidify, but you don't want it to be hot anymore. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll put it in the fridge for about 5 minutes, and you'll see that it will stiffen up a bit. That's what you want, but you don't want it to be completely rock hard soft. So this is the bone marrow that I was able to yield from 5 bones. This recipe is going to show you exactly how much butter you will be able to get from that amount, but it really depends on you. Like I prefer this butter when it's fresh the first day. It kind of hardens and gets a little bit chalky the next few days, but it's still good, right? Like I'm not really that picky, but if you want to just make like a fresh batch for one day, I mentioned before, you should be fine with like 2-3 decent sized marrow bones. And also want to point out that I will not be throwing out these bone marrows. I wasn't able to completely take out all of the marrow, so I'm going to be reusing these for a bone broth soup, mixing it in with a couple of other bones that I have, and it's going to provide me with yet another nutritious meal for the week. So as you can see, nothing goes to waste on this way of eating. Nothing goes to waste in this house. Just a little side note, you want it to be solid. If it's still jiggly and moving around, it's not going to blend like a butter. It's just going to be like a soggy bone marrow. You don't want that. So you want to cool it off until it's like an almost solid, but you could still like stick a blender in there and whisk it up. So I think when it's cool, it's a sign that it's ready to be blended. When it's cooled off and it's pretty much room temp, or it's kind of reached like a colder temperature in the fridge. Okay, bone marrow has now cooled off. We are going to move on to the next step, which is whisking it up. I'm going to be using my hand blender, and I'm gonna add salt to taste, but not yet, after I do a little bit of the blending. So let's see how this step works. So this is what it looks like, the finished product. And it's super buttery, super soft. You can spread it. I usually spread it on my egg yolk muffins or on some slices of steak. So because bone marrow is pretty fatty, I like to accompany it with my leaner cuts of meat. And now I'm gonna actually transfer it into this little guy that I've just cleaned out of. It had some butter in it, so I'm gonna put some real bone marrow butter, and then I'll show you my dinner for tonight. There she is. Honestly, this is butter for the gods. And for dinner tonight, I'm gonna have some egg yolk muffins with a little bit of bacon and bone marrow butter. Yummy, nutritious, so simple, easy to make. I love this butter because it's smooth and creamy. It doesn't have that kind of really strong bone marrow taste. It's pretty masked. It's more of a buttery taste. If you guys enjoyed my videos, you can feel free to watch the other 2 videos on the screen. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great week.